in the late 90s, Los Angeles faces a zombie apocalypse, except the virus outbreak doesn't come from a lab but from a soy milk drink. A novelist named James lives a shut-in lifestyle after breaking up with his girlfriend. Because of the sudden shift in his lifestyle, he's unaware of the zombie apocalypse. Good thing his best friend Bruce visits to check on him as he's worried for him. While Bruce knocks on his door, James doesn't answer, so Bruce repeatedly bangs on the door to get his attention. Instead of James, Beverly, his best friend's neighbor, entertains Bruce and orients him about James' elusiveness. After their conversation ends, Beverly flirts with Bruce and urges him to call her Bevy, which the man complies with. Once Beverly leaves, Bruce returns to persistently banging on James' door, which effectively catches the elusive man's attention. Curious about his visitor, James opens the door and is surprised to see Bruce. Not wasting any second, Bruce expresses his worry about James' ghosting behavior. Though guilty, James lies that he is trying to finish a new book but can't due to writer's block. Despite his lies, Bruce can see through his deception and straightforwardly tells him that he's probably moping due to ending his relationship with Emily. However, Bruce ends their topic about James' love life and immediately alerts him of the zombie virus spreading in LA. Upon hearing this, James is confused. So Bruce elaborates that people are becoming zombies after consuming soy milk, specifically the Agnes brand soy milk. With this information, James can't help but be skeptical. Therefore, he laughs it off. Offended, Bruce shows him evidence of the virus manifestation. Outside of James' residence, a zombie is attacking a helpless civilian, but a reporter doesn't even help him. Instead, he simply gets a scoop on the incident and leaves afterward. Now realizing that Bruce is telling the truth, James becomes serious and tries to calm his nerves. Moments later, the two converse in James' kitchen, and they discuss the crisis LA is facing. Bruce is confused when he learns that James hasn't listened to the news for all the times he's been shut in. Because of that, Bruce chastises him for consuming irrelevant TV programs and suggests they leave LA for Seattle. Bruce chose Seattle because he heard that the area has great milk alternatives and won't trigger his lactose intolerance. However, James doesn't share Bruce's enthusiasm for leaving as he's worried about his unfinished novel. Once again, he receives an earful from Bruce, reminding him that he'll never finish his novel if he's dead. Later on, Bruce checks out James' refrigerator, but he panics upon discovering that his best friend still has a bottle of Agnes brand soy milk left. While Bruce panics, James doesn't feel any concern and calmly tells him to leave it. Then he invites Bruce to watch Waterworld before leaving, but Bruce objects to the idea and orders him to pack up. Inside James' bedroom, Bruce helps him pack up his belongings when James suddenly expresses his desire to contact Emily, to which he reasons that he simply wants to check on her. Regardless, Bruce disagrees and tells him to move on as he believes that Emily can fend off for herself. To cheer James up, Bruce introduces an idea. He can find a new love in Seattle. Still, James is persistent in contacting Emily, causing Bruce to burst out on him. Defeated, James slumps down on his bed and pulls a box on his side, piquing Bruce's curiosity. Hence, Bruce inquires about the box, but James becomes defensive and eventually reveals that it contains his memories with Emily, which he dubs the Emily memory box. With great disgust, Bruce orders James to throw the box out, but James insists that it's an essential item he can't just let go. Tired of his nonsense, Bruce takes the box away from a resisting James and firmly tells him they'll burn it because he wants his best friend to move forward. Even so, James snatches back the box and insists on not burning it. Due to his sudden action, Bruce relents for a second, but he suggests burying it. After hearing Bruce's thoughts, James thinks for a second and expresses his agreement with Bruce. Therefore, James swears to dispose of the box, but he has to do it himself. With that, the two reach an agreement and perform a pinky swear. Once the two are done packing their belongings, they head outside to ride James' car, but the vehicle isn't starting. Upon looking at his side view mirror, James discovers that someone has siphoned his gas. As a result, Bruce expresses his disappointment and educates James that since people want to leave the town, they resort to such an act since gas currently costs $2 per gallon. With that in mind, James advocates they should just stay in his house, but Bruce remains firm in leaving. For that reason, Bruce suggests that they ride his bike to the nearest gas station. After James has seen Bruce visit him unscathed, he urges Bruce to go alone, making him sigh in defeat. Suddenly, the two see a zombie roaming in the streets, and he begins to approach their car. Before scramming, the two question the logic of how a blind zombie can make his way, but they start to realize that the blind zombie is accompanied by his dog. Once the zombie is near them, they immediately immediately leave the car and head back to James' house. Inside, the two recuperate from the sudden exertion of energy and hypothesize what would happen to them now that they can't leave for Seattle. Left with no choice, the two just watch Waterworld, their favorite movie. In James' living room, the two cozy themselves on the couch when Bruce suggests they order food deliveries since their snacks won't last the whole movie's duration. Dumbfounded, James expresses his skepticism about Bruce's idea, especially since they're in a zombie apocalypse. Nonetheless, Bruce reasons there's always a place open and willing to deliver, especially in their current economy. Yielding to his friend's wishes, James points at the Yellow Page book's direction and allows Bruce to order the food. When Bruce contacts a restaurant, he's surprised to discover that they are indeed still open. Nonchalantly, the agent informs them that they're the only dumb restaurant that persistently opens while still in a zombie apocalypse. This makes the two celebrate in joy, and Bruce immediately hammers down their order with the agent. After the smooth transaction, the two return to the television to watch the movie. While watching, the two also discuss their thoughts about the movie when they hear a knock. Thinking it's the food, Bruce takes the honor of getting their order. Excited for the delivery, Bruce opens the door with a hop on his step, but his smile vanishes upon seeing Emily behind the door. Since Bruce is hostile, Emily returns his energy and expresses her need to talk to James. However, Bruce lies that James has passed away and dons a fake mourning face. As a result, Emily becomes worried, and she asks him what has happened to James. Suddenly, James calls out for Bruce, checking him out since he's been taking a lot of time grabbing their supposed food delivery. Because of that, Emily discovers his lie and confronts him about it, causing Bruce to tell her the truth. Afterward, he tries to kick her out since he's concerned for his friend. Regardless, Emily doesn't care about his reason and walks past him. Upon Emily's entrance, James' world suddenly stops spinning, and his attention is solely focused on her. Once he returns to his senses, James awkwardly greets Emily and invites her to have a seat. When she's comfortably sitting, Emily informs James that she'll be leaving the town with her friends and clarifies that she visited him not to get back with him but simply to check on him. With their conversation, Bruce can't help but ask where Emily and her friends will go, and she answers that they'll travel to Seattle. Because of their similar destination, Bruce proposes they join them, and Emily tells them she can ask for her friend's permission. However, an ear-piercing shriek interrupts their conversation, causing them to look outside the window. They discover that the shriek came from Emily's friend as two zombies attack them. Filled with concern, Emily begs the two to take action so they can save her friends. Despite her pleas, the two are firm not to help since the zombies have already devoured her friends. After witnessing their demise, Emily grieves their deaths by reminiscing about their plans after moving to Seattle. Now, she blames herself for their deaths since she asked them to stop by at James' house. Due to that, James assures her that she did nothing wrong and tells her he would have done the same thing. On the other hand, Bruce tries to comfort her by suggesting they watch Waterworld with him, but Emily refuses as she believes the movie is bad. Before a debate ensues, James immediately explains to her that they don't read the reviews about Waterworld and simply watch it for their own enjoyment. Though grateful for their offer, Emily still refuses and tells them she's not in the mood. Then she asks James for a private conversation, insinuating that she wants Bruce to leave them alone. Thankfully, Bruce gets the hint and he takes his leave. Once alone, the two talk about the recent events they've encountered earlier, and Emily bares herself to James, expressing her uncertainty about surviving. Realizing that this is going in his favor, James quickly invites Emily to stay in his residence, and she accepts. While James is ecstatic about Emily's stay, Bruce isn't. So after eavesdropping on them, he goes to James' bedroom in a sour mood. Inside James' bedroom, Bruce rummages through his best friend's possessions when he stumbles upon his Emily memory box. Bruce realizes that James didn't get rid of the box, unlike what he'd promised before. Therefore, Bruce lets his curiosity take over, and he checks out the items inside. Then, he sneaks into the living room to eavesdrop on Emily and James' conversation. Bruce sees that James is opening up to Emily, and they also tackle some of their relationship's issues. Suddenly, their conversation is cut short when they hear a knock on the door. Thinking it's their food delivery, Bruce excitedly leaves his hiding spot to retrieve their order. When James sees him, he's baffled and asks if he's been hiding the whole time. Of course, Bruce denies his accusation and immediately heads to the door with James. Upon entertaining the delivery man, Bruce is surprised that he is his friend Rory, whom he hasn't seen in a while. After introducing him to James, Bruce invites Rory to stay over without asking James permission. Now alone, James follows the two to the kitchen and asks about their history. Gladly, Rory tells James that they're co-workers at Subway, and he admires Bruce's creativity with his sandwiches. After sharing, Rory inquires Bruce about his current career, and Bruce tries to save his face by saying that he enrolled in a culinary school but dropped out. Later on, he tells the truth that he is currently unemployed, but Rory praises him for living in a lavish house. Bruce doesn't want to take the credit, so he admits that the house is James's and that being a novelist gave him a good life. When Rory learns this, he praises James, especially his book. With his kind words, James expresses his gratitude, but their conversation ends there as Bruce begins to pay for their order. After their transaction, Rory begins to leave, but Bruce stops him and invites him to stay over. Due to Bruce's decision without consulting him, James pretends not to mind his action, but deep inside, James wants Rory gone. However, Bruce successfully convinces Rory to stay over after his persistent invitation. Moments later, the group shares a meal filled with stories from Rory's delivery adventure. With great curiosity, Emily inquires how he has managed to stay alive, especially now that they're experiencing a zombie apocalypse. Rory reveals that due to LA's economy, he can't help but persevere since his job provides huge tips to help him afford his needs. Since Rory hasn't eaten yet, James inquires him about what's holding him back from eating, and Rory answers that he is a vegetarian. Surprised, Bruce doesn't believe him since Rory has been a certified meatball lover before. Because of that, Bruce encourages Rory to eat meat again, but Emily and James protest. Again, Bruce successfully convinces Rory, and he tries the chicken wing, reasoning that the world is ending anyway. After taking a bite, Rory savors the flavor and expresses his longing for meat, much to Bruce's joy. A few minutes later, Rory suddenly feels queasy and blames it for eating meat, so he asks for the nearby bathroom. With that, James orders Bruce to accompany Rory to the bathroom. While the two are gone, Emily notices a speck of dirt on James' face, so she volunteers to remove it from him. Once done, James can't stop smiling and opines they might be flirting. However, Emily denies the idea and calls him crazy. Moving on from the topic, James urges Emily to be the one to be honest this time, and she accepts. Immediately, James asks what issue is going on with her and Bruce, and she notices that the two are not on good terms. At first, Emily denies the tension between them, but after James' encouragement, Emily finally relents. Mustering all her courage, Emily admits that she used to have a fling with Bruce before she and James were dating. This revelation shocks James, so he clarifies what he's heard to Emily before confronting Bruce. While Rory's inside the bathroom, Bruce is at the cocktail bar preparing a drink when James approaches him to confront him about his fling with Emily. As the trio discusses their past, Rory suddenly appears wearing James' robe. He voices out that he's been feeling feverish, and upon clutching his chest, his robe slightly slides down, revealing an infected bite mark on his chest. Because of this, the trio backs off in fear, and a disoriented Emily asks if he's infected, but Rory, in denial, tells him that he's probably experiencing food poisoning. However, the trio is firm in learning that he's infected, so Bruce asks him how he probably got infected. Despite Rory's incoherent answers, the trio figures out that an infected partner he became intimate with has bitten him. Afterward, Rory doesn't speak anymore, and he throws up blood, causing the trio to flee in fear. In a short span of time, Rory has turned undead, and he hunts them down. Quickly, the trio heads outside and shuts the glass door on Rory, trapping him inside. While at it, James and Bruce roast his appearance and his foolishness in making love with an infected person. Suddenly, Rory stops going after them and heads to Charles, James' beloved goldfish. When Rory eats Charles, James can't contain his anger, so he tries to enter the house, but Emily and Bruce stop him. Since Rory's appetite is not yet fulfilled, he heads to the trio's direction and tries to reach them. Because the sliding door acts as a barrier, James and Bruce continue their argument about their past, straying from their objective to keep themselves safe. Fed up, Emily chastises the two and formulates a plan for them to get inside. Once they execute the plan, Bruce successfully lures Rory outside the house while James sprays water on him. To finish their plan, Emily smashes a vase on Rory's head. Now that they're inside the house, Bruce and Emily celebrate, but James doesn't, as he still holds a grudge against the past between the two. Alone, Emily and Bruce finally get into a serious conversation and provide each other the closure they deserve. Afterward, Emily heads to James' bedroom to fix their dispute. Just after Emily enters James' bedroom, the man displays hostility towards her and tries to shoo her away. Regardless, Emily stays and inquires about what he's doing. Letting his immaturity take over, James tells her that he's writing a book about a guy who gets dumped and his ex-girlfriend experiences a terrible death. Realizing that the ex-girlfriend is an illusion to her, Emily chastises him for his immaturity. Nevertheless, she still calmly opens up about the issue and apologizes for not informing him about her fling with Bruce, as she's afraid it'll cause problems with their relationship. Despite her efforts to mend their current relationship, James is too wounded and wishes that Emily is gone. Before leaving, Emily frankly tells James about his unchanged toxic traits but still wishes him a good life. When Bruce sees that Emily fails to reconcile with James, he heads to the bedroom and talks to James. Though James gives him the same hostility, Bruce is unstirred and maturely handles his best friend's tantrums. Then, to get James to open up more, Bruce urges him to tell how he first met Emily, and James complies. Through this, James realizes how badly he treated Emily and still loves her very much. With a newfound determination, James vows to get Emily back. Once outside, Bruce tells James to grab the double-wedge axe just in case they need to protect themselves. Suddenly, Emily's scream grabs their attention, and it's coming from Beverly's house. Immediately, the two sneak inside Beverly's house and see Emily on the ground. It turns out that Beverly has become a zombie, and she's eating Emily's leg. Now, James has no choice but to end Beverly's life, even if it's too hard for him. When he tries to attack Beverly, she's able to fight him off using her flat iron. Since James' attacks don't land on Beverly, he resorts to using a telephone cable to restrain her and then shoves her inside the dresser. Then the trio leaves the house with Beverly's parrot in tow. Now that they've returned safely to James' residence, he and Emily continue their conversation while he bandages her wound. This time, Emily doesn't hold back and tells him all of his shortcomings during their relationship. Because of this, James apologizes and sincerely asks for a second chance. However, Emily refuses, so James proves his love for her by drinking the soy milk from his refrigerator. After drinking, James tells her that he's willing to become a mindless zombie so that he can be with her. Even with this, Emily doesn't accept his proposal immediately, but she tells him that what he did earlier is a start. When Bruce sees what James has done, he's a little disappointed, but he's still happy that the two are slowly reconciling. Later on, the trio spends the night having fun, not caring about the world. The following day, Bruce energetically prepares breakfast while James is still in bed watching over Emily, who's slowly becoming a zombie. Despite her current state, James doesn't mind it and still willingly gives her a morning kiss. In the dining area, Bruce serves the couple a beverage called prairie oysters, but only Emily consumes it to cure her hangover. Suddenly, Bruce notices something about Emily's appearance. Her zombie-like features fade, signaling that she's cured. Therefore, they conclude that the beverage cured her. So Emily encourages Bruce to help other people and become a hero. However, Bruce has a different plan. He'll make money using it and immediately contacts a TV news station. 2 weeks later, things are going pretty smoothly, especially since James has finished his novel. On top of that, LA zombie apocalypse has finally vanished, all thanks to Bruce's antidote. As a result, he's hailed as a national hero, and he's even on a TV interview. After watching his interview, James and Bruce share a heart-to-heart talk, wherein James appreciates Bruce as his best friend. However, Bruce notices that James' appearance starts to become zombie-like, causing a great concern with him. Then, a newsflash interrupts their conversation, and they learn that Bruce's antidote is only temporary, meaning that the zombie apocalypse returns. Therefore, the government deploys a containment measure, bombing the affected area. Now, before their lives come to an end, James still affirms to Bruce that he's a great best friend. Afterward, he proposes to Emily to be his girlfriend again, to which Emily accepts, and they kiss for the last time.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.